Good evening. This is Bronwyn, your host of Black Mental Health is Black Health. And tonight it's just me, and we're going to be talking about emotional regulation. What is it? How hard is it? Why do I need to do it? But before we get started, as always, we're going to take a few deep cleansing breaths. So let's get started. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. One more. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Just those few deep breaths to allow you to breathe and decompress at the end of your day. Who knows what today was for you, good, bad, or indifferent? We can always take a few deep breaths just to relax, to woosah. So, what are emotions? That's something that we all deal with, but if you have to describe it and define it, what is it? Well, tonight we're going to talk about that. Just emotions. How do we define them? How do we regulate them and not let them control us? So, as always, I like to give good definitions, and I'm going to use an American psychological definition for emotion, and they just call it a complex pattern, a complex relaxed pattern involving experiential, behavioral, and psychological elements. Oh, wow. That's a lot of words. Another way to put it is what people experience or feel in response to a situation. It's your thoughts, it's your actions, and it's how your body responds. All of this is our emotions, and they are so hard to regulate. Our emotions include how we feel internally. That's the emotional part. How we feel physically. Because when you're angry, for instance, you feel a certain kind of way. Some people feel hot. Some people's hands automatically go into a fist when they're angry. Or some people just so angry you can't even breathe. And we may get to what that does to you. But that's a physical response. Then there's that I feel sad. I feel depressed. Those are an emotional response to it. So our emotions impact us every day. And it could be good. Not all emotions are negative. And which leads me to we have difficulty describing our emotions because we have difficulty managing them because we can't describe them. When you think about feeling words, people think happy, sad, and mad. That's it. You're going to feel happy, you feel sad, you feel mad. Well, yes, those are three emotions we feel, but there are so many more. Let me just list a few: calm, joyful, competent, excited, loved, inspired, or anxious, afraid, embarrassed, betrayed, jealous, fearful. That's just a few. We have so many emotions, they're complex. And when we can't describe them, how are we going to be able to manage them? So it's so much more than I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm mad, I'm fine. We have hundreds of emotions, and we can experience hundreds of emotions in a day. Something can make you feel joyful, but later on that same day, something can make you feel anxious. Or you'd be in a situation where you become embarrassed. And then later the same day, you could be joyful for something that happens. So our emotions are not stagnant, they don't stay the same. Throughout the day, you may experience different things because our emotions are impacted by situations that happen. Um, and it's good to be able to have words to express it and realize what you're feeling, good or bad, as you notice that list started off positive, went to the negative, because that's what we have that many emotions. Some are good, some are bad. Well, they're not good and bad in and of themselves. Some are, I guess, more positive to experience, some more negative to experience. But either way, we experience them. So we can let our emotions be in control of us, or we can be in control of our emotions. So why do you think it is hard to regulate them. As I said, you can't regulate something you can't explain. So as we begin to learn to use different names for our specific names for our emotions, we can explain it better. We can regulate it better. We can manage them and not let our emotions manage us. But when you think about it, we tell children, don't cry, it'll be okay. Or stop crying, you're not a baby. Or real men don't cry. So when we suppress, that's just one emotion, but when we suppress the need to cry, we are suppressing our emotions. And those aren't the only emotions we suppress. We tend to suppress the negative ones, like, oh, don't be scared. Don't be anxious. Just calm down. And the Bible says God hadn't given us a spirit of fear. So why are you being afraid? But in the Bible, it says over 300 times, it talks about being afraid because God knew we were going to be afraid. So just saying don't be afraid doesn't fix it. So we tend to suppress it by just saying stop when it comes to negative emotions. Don't do it. But they're there. They're real. So since we're taught that, we just kind of push it down. We suppress it. It's not real. But because it's not real, does that mean it's gone away? No, indeed not. It is still there. Those emotions are real. They're a part of our life. So just saying, child, get over it. It doesn't happen that way. Something else, another reason it's hard to regulate, and another reason we suppress it. People often say, if I let go, I don't know what will happen. Or I'm afraid to start crying because I won't stop. Or I'm not going to say anything because I know I'll say something I'm going to regret. Whereas there are times, yes, you need to hold your tongue and not speak, because if you say something, those words can never be taken back. You can say I didn't mean it, but you can't say I didn't think it, because you said it. It was in there, you thought it. So that is not going to make those words go away. But when we tell ourselves, I won't stop crying, yes, you will. It may feel like it, and you may cry a long time. And those tears are so cleansing, and those tears are so powerful, and those tears are so helpful. You will feel like you won't stop crying. And when you say, I just don't know what will happen, I'll let go. Maybe it's about learning to process and figure out what you can do so that you will know what will happen and that you're in control. But just suppressing the emotion, pushing it down, it's not going to help you. Another reason emotions are hard to suppress, maybe it's all we know. Some people grew up in a chaotic household where everyone was yelling and screaming, and to put your emotions into play as a child would not have been good. Maybe you would have been reprimanded for it. So you learned to manage chaos by being quiet, by negating your feelings and not believing they're there. But just because you negate them and suppress them doesn't mean that they aren't real. Then there are situations where our emotions are harder to manage. When we're tired. Oh, I'm just too tired. I can't think. Oh, you're just getting on my nerves. Or you're overwhelmed. I've got so much to do. I can't get it done. And then you become short and angry. Or you're hungry. And then that hungry and angry get together and you become hangry. Or even being ill. If there's a chronic illness, which can lead to depression because you're so tired of being sick. You're sick and tired, in this case, of being sick. Some illnesses actually have a negative impact on our mental health because of the medication we're taking. All these things will make it even harder to manage those emotions. But yeah, those are all things that they just play against us. It's like, I can't do it. I don't know what to do with these emotions. So let's look at them. That's just kind of a setup, but I like to talk more about solutions and setup, but definitely get an understanding. So understanding that emotions are real. We all have them. They're difficult to regulate. We're taught to suppress them. We're in a society where what you think and feel, you don't need to say. Being melanated, being African American in this society, we have so much pushing against us that we're often taught, like in the workplace, don't bring any emotion into it, especially as Black women, because you don't want to be seen as the angry Black woman. Even if you're just expressing your concern, you could be seen that way just from having a regular response, not even what you're considering angry. I'm just talking. But when you're just talking, you're the angry Black woman. So, once again, that's another reason to suppress those feelings. I've got to be stoic. I've got to just talk and tell you what I need. Otherwise, I will be the angry Black woman. And then when you do, you're stoic and you don't want to express any emotion, you're considered harsh, mean, or even the B word because, you're not expressing any emotion. So for Black women, man, this is a rough thing. It really is. To be able to express your feelings and not have to try to hide them. So we're going to look at emotional regulations. How do I regulate them then? If all this is going on in the background, what do I do? So let me just give you, again, a nice, clean definition for emotional regulation. It's the ability to take in information, maintain your composure in proportion to the experience, and effectively communicate your needs to others. That's a lot of words. So we're going to take in some information and let our response be proportionate to the experience, and then effectively communicate our needs. That's a lot to do. Because it's easy to let go. You're angry. And like I said, if you're the Black woman in business, you're not so much regulating your emotions as you are suppressing them. You're taking in the information, like it says, you're maintaining your composure, but sometimes at what cost? Because you can't effectively communicate, which is the end result of emotional regulation, because you're just not allowed to. So I want to give, before I talk about what do we do now with all of this and how do we practice some emotional regulation, is just make sure we're all on the same page by giving you a few examples of emotional dysregulation. Let's say you're at a restaurant. Waiter brings you your change and it's wrong. And you yell at this person. That's really an overreaction, even if you've had bad service. There are ways to communicate, and yelling at someone is showing you're dysregulated. And it doesn't usually get you what you need. Or what about road rage? Someone cuts you off and you follow them for blocks just to yell at them. Or you want to ram their car just because they cut you off. Or worst case scenario, you pull out a gun and shoot them. Extremely emotionally dysregulated. But it happens. Road rage is an example of emotional dysregulation. And then even just you become so frustrated, you sit down and cry. That those tears may help get out some of that emotion, but the bottom line is I'm so frustrated, I can't deal with it. So rather than being regulated, I'm just shut down, which is another one. Sometimes we just shut down. I am so upset, I'm so frustrated, I'm so disgusted, I'm just going to shut down. I'm just not going to do anything. One last one. Let's say you're in a relationship and your partner decided that they called you to say, oh, I got a meeting tonight. I'm going to be late or I'm not going to come if it's in a dating relationship. Or your spouse says, I'm going to be late coming home tonight. You end up crying all night because you've decided that they must not love you anymore and they're having an affair and they're doing this, even if you have all the proof that what you're saying is not true. So sometimes we allow ourselves to get caught up. Our emotions just are out of disproportion to whatever the situation is. So that's looking at emotional dysregulation. It's not right. So, going back to what I said, when we want to practice emotional regulation, it's about how do we learn to manage what's going on in a way that's going to be emotionally beneficial to ourselves. So, let's look at some tips for doing that. As African Americans, again, we face a variety of microaggressions, macroaggressions on a regular basis. I've heard people say, yeah, just because there's beautiful melanin in my skin, I deal with so many microaggressions, I don't even know when they happen anymore. That's not a good thing, but a very real thing. And so, one of the things in terms of tips to managing it is to understand that it is not really just you. Yes, you are getting all of these microaggressions or aggressions at you. It is really about the person who's doing it, who is perpetuating it. So you have to understand that's their ignorance and deal with it that way and have a plan to manage those microaggressions on in the workplace. And some of these tips can help you in the moment. So there are some in the moment things we can do. We always start this show off with some breathing. But there's so many different types of breath work we can do. And I want to break down breathing a little more for you tonight. One type of breathing, and that's belly breathing. When you're doing belly breathing, you're going to really take oxygen in your body, and it is really going to help relax your body a little more. When we breathe deeply, we typically really are just breathing to our chest. We're not breathing all the way in. What belly breathing does is tells you to breathe in. We're going to breathe in deeply. We're going to practice it, but I'll tell you what we're going to do. So you're going to put one hand on your chest and one hand on your stomach. Sit in a chair. You're probably sitting. You can even do it laying down. As you do, when I say breathe in, and I will count you in, you're going to breathe in so deeply, you're pushing your stomach out. What you're doing is you're going to feel your stomach expand. And it's really allowing more oxygen going all the way in your body. Your lungs will be expanding. And when I say breathe out, you're going to purse your lips like this, like you're whistling, and you're going to blow the air out. So let's do 3. Are you ready? Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Push out through your mouth, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, let your belly expand, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. When we take this last breath, the hand on your chest should not be rising, but the hand on your stomach should. So let's try one more deep, deep breath. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. So that belly breathing. So from now on, if you watch the show and I say breathe in, breathe out, do that belly breathing. I want to make sure before I've explained it, but I wanted to do it in terms of emotional regulation. How do you feel right now? Do you feel just a little more calm, a little more at peace, a little more relaxed? Well, when you do that, and not just 3, but do a minute or so of belly breathing when you're really stressed out, it can make a difference. I have worked with people and we practice belly breathing, and their assignment was to practice it every day because they were anxious or had a lot of anger issues. And what happens when you practice it daily, it allows you to become accustomed to, oh, this is something I do to make me feel better. So that when you're in a situation where you're angry, you're stressed out, things are not going right, you can think it's something you do regularly. Oh, yeah, let me breathe. If you don't practice it regularly, it may not come up in your mind. So do belly breathing every day. When you're at work, when you're driving behind a car, you don't have to put your hands on your stomach and your chest. That's just to show you what it's like when you're practicing. You can be driving a car. Someone cuts you off. Rather than have road rage, take a deep breath, because that might save your life. So another thing to do is to allow yourself to stop and think before you speak. and assess the situation. Does it warrant a crazy reaction where you're just going to go off, yell, and cuss? So after you breathe a couple of breaths, you might be more able to stop and think. With the example I gave earlier, like the waiter brought your brought your change, and it was wrong. So you can yell at them, you can scream at them. All that's going to do is make the matters worse. Or you can just say, "This isn't right. Please fix it." And this isn't suppressing it, it's just realizing, why am I yelling? Why am I screaming? I'm making myself look ridiculous in public. So why should I yell, scream, curse, and do any of that? Because I look crazy. So that's where that stop and think and assess the situation. Do I need to have road rage? Or the situation with the romantic partner, your wife, your husband, your person you're dating? Do I need to assume the worst or do I need to have a conversation? So stop and think before you react. When you're real angry, something else that can be beneficial is sticking your face in cold water where you may not have a sink to go put it in, but getting a cold towel and placing it on your face for 30 seconds if you can. Let's say you're angry at work, go to the bathroom, get some paper towels, hopefully they have paper towels, and put the cold water on your face. What happens, cold water on your face activates different receptors in your nervous systems. And it signals what's like a dive response, which calms down your heart rate. So it's a way to decrease your feelings of anxiety, stress, or anger in the moment. And you don't always have that, but these are things you can do in the moment. Just that cool water. And I'm sure some people have tried it and say, oh, yeah, I do feel a little better. So just that cool water on your face. Stop and have a drink of water, of cool water, even. What that is going to do, it's the act of stopping in the moment. Let me stop and do something. So I'm going to breathe. I'm going to think. I'm going to cool my face off, which is going to invigorate those receptors to calm me down. Maybe I'll go and have a few sips of water because it'll allow me to stop what I'm doing and do something different. And in that moment of stopping, I might be able to think better. So those are some in the moment. I can do X, Y, Z. As I'm right here, I can do this. But there are some other things we can do even on a bigger scale, and that's the lifestyle changes. As I said, we can practice the deep breathing, the belly breathing every day so that you're allowing yourself on a regular basis to just say, oh, I feel good. I can allow myself to relax. I can allow myself to just calm down. Then there are just health things. I always talk about the show is Black Mental Health is Black Health because it's reminding us that health is health. As you take care of your own health, your physical health, you're going to take care of your mental health. You're going to be able to emotionally control better because you are doing what you need to do. You are taking care of your overall well-being. So, to that end, it also has to do with what you eat. Are you eating healthy? Now stop and think. I have to ask myself sometimes that too. And it's okay to indulge and have some fun food that may not have real health benefits. But on the whole, are you eating healthy? When you're taking care of your body's going to feel better and it will help you emotionally regulate because you are doing physically better. Are you hydrating enough? Again, that's about your physical body, but being well hydrated and taking care of your physical body allows you to be more mentally healthy, which allows you to emotionally regulate better. Can you be in the moment? We're often have so many things to do. I've been guilty of saying I got 57 irons in the fire and it can only hold 50. So we'll have too many things on our plate, too much to do, so much so that we can't be in the moment and enjoy. You might be able to talk to someone, yeah, I went to a game, I was at my son's game and he was playing and I was doing work. Well, you weren't there really with your son, even though he was playing, you weren't engaged, you weren't in that moment. We sometimes don't allow ourselves to be in the moment and enjoy where we are, what we're doing. When you're able to be in the moment, it helps you emotionally regulate because you can accurately take in the situation. Even again, the situation in the restaurant where maybe you cursed out the waiter for bringing your wrong change. Were you really in the moment evaluating everything that was going on? Or were you caught up in so many things going on that there was an undercurrent anger that was there that you could even enjoy the meal? So you were already bothered. Being able to be in the moment. One way to allow yourself to get in the moment is there's a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 um, grounding exercise where you find 5 things you can see. So I'm going to stop. As I said, I'll pause after each one and I want you to do it. Find 5 things you can see. Find 4 things you can feel and actually feel it like this or watch. 4 things you can feel. What are 3 things you can hear? What do you hear right now? What are 2 things you can smell right now? And what is 1 thing you can taste? When you stop and do that grounding exercise, it allows you to be in the moment and attach all of your senses to where you are. It's we get so busy that we are not in the moment. We're not attached to I'm right here, here and now. This is how I'm feeling. We're just doing, doing, doing. But when you can stop and do that, you can be in the moment. And that's a good thing. Exercise. Exercise is another thing. Again, it's going to release those endorphins in your brain. It's going to increase your energy. It can calm you down. It can decrease anxiety. It can boost your mood. It can be a natural drug. So, movement, exercise, and practicing gratitude. At the end of the day, every day, find at least 2 things that you are grateful for. The more you're practicing gratitude, the less you may focus on the negative. And again, it's bringing that balance between the negative emotions and the positive and the reality that sometimes things aren't as bad as we feel they are. Be a part of community. You are not meant to live life alone. So find people to be with, if it's an organization, if it's your community, if it's a faith community, something outside your job or people in your job, but allow yourself to be in community and you can be supported as well as you support. So being in community is also a benefit. So, a lot to say about emotional regulation. We're out of time just about. And the last one I do want to just throw out there is being able to give back. There's a lot of benefit to giving back to others. When you're giving back to others, you again are getting out of yourself. So as much as you want to focus on yourself, practicing emotional regulation, being in community, and giving back as well as receiving is also a benefit. Whew. So, a lot about emotional regulation. I want to say this as we have our call to action, and that is this: your emotions are yours, manage them, don't let them manage you. And always vote, vote, vote. Be an educated voter. If you're in a runoff elections in your area, primaries coming up, vote, vote, vote. Don't just vote. Be an educated voter. I'm Miss B, the Black Couch Therapist, and I'm here to help you become a better you. Oh, and I forgot to mention, when your emotions are way out of whack, seek help. Find a therapist. Therapists are here to help you. See you next week.